Welcome back. Welcome back. So, while I'm working from home and I'm on my lunch break, I figure I will use this time to release and educate. Because some things just need to be said, right? I know sometimes people say, especially when it relates to a very triggering topic, a very emotionally provocative topic, people want to say, oh, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't say that. Some things are best left unsaid. No, some things are better said than left unsaid. And I thought about this right before going live, making this video. I thought about it. I thought very carefully about it. What's up, Fred? I thought, yes, I'm going in on this video. I thought very carefully about it, but I'm about to go in. One thing about me, I'm not going to reveal any names, right? But I'm about to go in this video. And I thought, like I said, I thought very carefully about what I'm going to say here in this video before going live. So, you guys know that we just came out of the holidays. We just celebrated Christmas and New Year's. For me, I don't really celebrate the holidays like that. But I may participate in some festivities. You know, I may enjoy the spirit of the holiday, right? So, I did work on Christmas Eve and I worked on New Year's Eve. I be putting in work, and you guys know I'm my final year of a PhD program, a clinical psych, so I am in my pre-doc internship. Fred, know I'm about to go in. He's talking about, oh shit, oh shit, son. Listen, I'm about to go in. You know what I'm saying? So, with me working in my internship, I decided to just work. They asked me, are you going to work on, you know, the holidays or, you know, the eves of Christmas and New Year's? And I'm like, yeah, you know, why not? I ain't doing shit else. So I worked on Christmas Eve, and surprisingly on Christmas Eve, on my way home, I was on the train and I saw this very eye-catching gentleman. I think it was more so his energy, I guess, that I felt. His energy, his stance, the way he was dressed, like, you know, certain symbols kind of resonate with myself, of course, being a Pan-African myself, and the colors of RBG, so those kind of things stand out to me. And I'm like, all right. I was sitting down and he was like standing in front of me, so I'm looking at him like, and he was looking at me. It's like I felt like we were looking at each other, right? And then you know how that awkward moment, like you want to say something, but then you don't want to say it. And for me, I don't initiate conversation usually with men. I just kind of let them do their thing, right? But he broke the silence, and he, you know, commented on my mask, which I ordered from my sister, the Not Today Corona mask, right? And he asked me where I got it from, and I'm like, I told him I got it from my sister, lives in Florida. So we were having like small talk, kind of introducing ourselves to each other, right? And then before he got off the train, you know, he asked for my number. And I'm like, why not? I mean, maybe he might be the one. And you guys know I am single. I've been single for a while now, and I've been pretty comfortable in my singlehood, you know? But at the same time, I'm open to dating. I'm open to exploring my options, just to see what's out there, you know, because I'm getting older, and yes, I do want kids eventually. I do want kids eventually one day. So I gave him my phone number, chit-chat, and the following day was Christmas, right? And it just dawned on me, like, Christmas, people ask me, what did you do for Christmas? Actually, on Christmas Day, I was at home talking to him. We had a very in-depth conversation. But I feel like I do that with anybody I talk to. Like, I know how to have a conversation. I know how to talk deep, right? And we go on for hours and hours, and we were talking, vibing, right? Just speaking life. You know, talking about everything as it relates to black politics, racial oppression, white supremacy, and, you know, historically, the context in which black people have lived in, where we come from, you know, so it just felt like it was a great connection, right? Just vibing, all the way vibing, right? And we talked about solutions too. It wasn't so much, because for me, it kind of irks me to be like, when we talk about the issues that plague the black community, right? I take a certain kind of stance, and yes, I do recognize that everything happens in a context. That's my theoretical framework in working with clients. I get it. Like, I hold them responsible, right, as an individual, but I don't put the entire blame on themselves, right? I look at it in the context in which they are living in which they grew up in, right? Because there are layers to it. And so that's the same way I conceptualize the problems affecting the black community, in a context. A historical context, a socio-political context. And I have to warn you guys, right? Because I don't think I did a fair warning, but this video might trigger some people. It will trigger some people, you know. You're not going to like what I'm going to say in this video. A lot of people won't. But the truth just needs to be said. And so that Friday, Christmas Day, we were vibing, talking. And like I said, I like to talk about solutions. I'm a solutions person. Like, because I've had conversations over and over and over again with people in the black community, in the conscious community specifically, about what's happening, right? So it gets kind of old. You just keep talking about the same thing over and over again, right? It's just like, okay, we're saying the same narrative, right? It just sounds like a broken freaking record. And so I like to talk about solutions, like, where do we go from here? What do we do, right? And we actually came to an agreement. I'm happy. I was enthused to see that we saw things from the same perspective as far as solution, which being, and it's no secret, you know, we can say this, you know, because I feel like sometimes we try to say, oh, we got to move in silence, and you gotta, don't let the enemy know what you're doing. Listen, the white man know that the solution to the problems is that we as black men and women need to get our shit together and come together and work together and build family. Hello, that's the reason why they are interrupting that, because they know that's how we succeed. They know that is how we thrive. That's how communities thrive, is that black or men and women in general come together. They procreate and they grow together, and they live healthy together, right? Not to say you're not going to have conflict or disagreements. Of course you will. But they already know that that's no secret. So we talked about that in our conversation, you know, about just the black man and the black woman. I thought that was just so wonderful. You know, but I have to do this because this is like, it's like no duh, right? No duh, come together, right? But you sometimes, and you don't want to. Me as a woman, I don't go into a situation thinking like, oh, well, this person out to get me. This person has ulterior motives. Like, yes, I'm cautious about situations, but I have a very optimistic, positive frame of mind and perspective. My worldview on life is positive for the most part, because that's how I can just maintain my sanity and just maintain good health within myself, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, and spiritually, right? That's just how I am. That's my nature. Crypto says facts. You get what I'm saying? So we did go on a date. And the first date, yo, sometimes, you know how you be like, women, ladies, listen, you know how you be like, is this really happening to me? Like, me? So we go on a date. I suggested a place, and this is actually, I had already scheduled an activity, right, for a Saturday when I went to the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art here in New York in Manhattan. That's something I had already scheduled on my own. So that was more of like an individual activity, but he did come to join me at the latter part of me touring the museum. Met, and then I had also had an interest in checking out this West African restaurant, this Senegalese restaurant in Harlem. I did. But I invited him. I was like, okay, you know, this is where I'm going. He wanted to spend time with me, so of course, we did it together, right? But it was like a date. He's interested in me. Like, he expressed interest in me. He asked for my phone number. Granted, yes, I had a mutual interest in him as well. So, following the museum, we went out to the restaurant in Harlem. Great food. It actually came recommended by one of my African friends. Great food. And it's upscale too, so I was really impressed to see that there's an upscale West African restaurant in New York City, because most of the places are like takeout, and they're kind of like, you know, mediocre in terms of like the structure, right, of the building or the restaurant, the dining space, the aura of the space is like kind of mediocre. But this place, I felt it was more like an upscale restaurant, and just the service was on point. So we sit there, we vibe, and we chill, and we order our food. And then he brings up, I think even before, I think we even placed the order, he goes, well, you know, just to let you know, I'm on a budget. I'm like, okay. Now, those words really didn't strike me as much, because I'm like, I can pay for my own food. Like, I can pay for both of our meals if I chose to, right? So it didn't really like strike me as much, you know. But then the conversation like evolved, and we're talking. Hello, who is this? Mangalao. I think I've seen you before. So the conversation evolves, and we're talking after he, you know, made it clear, oh, he's on a budget. The conversation kind of evolved where it went from he's on a budget to like he wanted to see how I'm gonna respond, like it's a test, like, oh, you're testing me. Like, you're testing me, right? I went with it. Like, I'm the kind of person, anybody know me, my person, I'm really cool. Like, I'm chill, I'm laid back. I mean, I work with people, right? So it's almost, to me, nothing really jars me or excites me, because listen, I've worked with people in many different environments, different settings. Like, listen, I've been studying psychology all my life, right? I graduated with a degree in psychology at the age of 22. I've been working in psych hospitals. I've been working around, quote unquote, crazy people, right? I've been working with people, period. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I've been working in volatile environments, right? Where where clients physically lash out and they hit staff and all kinds of stuff. So to me, like, I'm just chill. I'm very easygoing, and people, I've experienced a lot of different things in life and in dating and relationships, and it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal, right? So I'm just going, I'm still trying to enjoy the day. I'm going with the flow. I'm just going with it, right? Despite he saying that he is on a budget initially, and then it kind of evolved into, oh, well, he's not really on a budget per se, but he just wanted to see how it's going to react. Then the conversation of homosexuality came up, because there were some other guests at the restaurant who came in. It was another party of clearly homosexual black men that kind of walked in, and they came in our seating area, not to sit with us, but they were being seated. And he commented on the guy's jacket, and they had an exchange, and then we started to talk about homosexuality, and I guess he wanted to see my perspective, because, this is the beginning of our relationship. We're getting to, like, know each other. Crypto, why are you laughing? But we're getting to know each other, right, and understand. So I'm open. I like to talk. Clearly, as you guys can see, I like to talk. I don't mind it. So I can talk about anything, whatever. So we're talking, getting to get a feel of each other's perspective as it relates to homosexuality. And, for me, I feel like when a guy kind of discloses certain information about homosexuality, it makes you wonder, makes you like, are you gay? Like, I'm not the only one, women, like, I'm pretty sure you do this too. Like, it makes you wonder, like, is this guy okay? Not that I'm judging, right? Because you do what you do. Because I believe in alternative sexual lifestyles myself. You guys know that I'm into BDSM. So it's not in a position of judging, but a woman wants to know. And I think a woman has a right to know, right? So that she can make a decision if she chooses to date a man who is bisexual or down low, whatever. She should be able to make an informed decision, right? Without it being a mystery or hidden information. But the way he responded, because I gave him a space to be honest, he was like, well, I haven't done it, or I'm not, he don't consider himself gay, but it was like if he had a chance to do it and a female wouldn't judge, then possibly, right? As if that would be the inhibiting factor to him engaging in that kind of lifestyle, alternative lifestyle or behavior, to say that he's kind of worried about what a woman thinks. And I realized a lot of his psyche, a lot of his perception, right, and behavior is kind of centered on a woman, like what a woman thinks, like needing approval of a woman instead of just standing in his own masculinity or fluidity or femininity or whatever he identifies himself as, right? So I just thought that was interesting, right? And then, like, he posed the idea of me going to his place, and he was like, oh, you know, what are you doing after this? I'm like, you know, I was going to go home. I said, what else is there to do? And he was like, you can come to my place. And me, I'm a spontaneous person, right? So I didn't really see anything necessarily wrong with doing that, but I guess the vibe, right? Like, I go, and I'm not the only one. We go off of energy, and we go off of vibe and see, okay, what is this vibe? And the vibe, my vibe, I'm like, nah, like, who is this guy? He don't want to pay for the date. He's talking about a budget. He has reservations. He's, you know, second guessing me, but he wants me to be open to come to his place. Like, where's the give and take here? You know what I'm saying? So I didn't feel like it was a risk worth taking at the time, right? Fast forward, because this video really is about coming to an awareness, and it's not just about him. Like, he's an example, but I am going to generalize this to relate to a lot of, or a handful, let's say, of Black conscious leaders out here perpetrating, pretending to be something that they're not. Like, they create this idea in their mind of who they think they are and who they think they want to be, but they don't even come close, right? And I get it, because a lot of identity, a lot of the way in which Black people identify themselves, whether it's going to be a Black Panther or a Pan-Africanist, is in response to the power structure, right? It's in response to white supremacy. Now, you guys know, I consider myself a Pan-Africanist myself. Like, I believe in the concepts, right, of Pan-Africanism. I support that wholeheartedly. But at the same time, for me, I can see things from different perspectives, right? So it's not that, okay, just because I have a certain belief that I'm blindsided to being able to see and understand things from a different perspective. And I do like to challenge. That's one thing about me. I think we all do. And so having this identity as a Pan-Africanist or a Black Panther, which I later found out that that's how he identifies. If he is really, I don't know, but he identifies himself as a Black Panther. It's just like, that's still an identity that's attached to the power structure. So I find it interesting. Just think about that, right? Think about that relationship. Think about that dichotomy, that your identity is tied to your oppressor. It's tied to your enemy. Like, just think about that. And I painted that picture to him because we had a very heated conversation a couple days ago, which pretty much, it revealed a lot. It revealed a lot, so much to the point where, like, I just got turned off. Like, you know, I'm not even interested anymore at this point. I'm not interested. Like, you're not the guy for me. You guys know I like a true-hearted, dominant man. And I can see, like, just like a lion, right? Just like an animal can just sense fear. Like, you can see through the bullshit. No matter somebody try to put on a coat, to portray themselves a certain way, like, you can just, I can smell it. I can smell fear. I can smell bitch assness. I can smell all that a million miles away, right? But I'm playing along, you know. But the conversation that happened a couple of days ago was, like I said, it was very heated. A lot of things came up. And it just confirmed kind of what I already was suspecting about this person. And I'm just like, hold on, y'all. I gotta drink me some OJ real quick. Because, you know how you just be like, what? 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 So in the conversation, I did bring up how I had a certain perspective on him and the way he is. And I'm very, like, this is the kind of woman I am. People ask me, why are you single, Liz? I know why I'm single, y'all. Because I'm just who I am, right? This is just me. Take it or leave it. It doesn't matter to me either way. But I did comment on himself, and I think he did solicit my advice. He solicited my perspective, right, on himself. Because he did ask me, it's like, oh, because knowing that I study psychology and I'm trained to become a psychologist, he asked, like, oh, what would you diagnose me with, right? And I told him, like, early on, I was like, you know what, I do diagnose patients, but I personally don't like diagnosing people. And as far as friends and family, like, no. Like, it's not my thing. Because I feel like people try to live up to whatever you say that they are. That's not who you are. You should know who you are. I love a man who knows who he are. Yes, you can recognize certain flaws that you have in your thinking and your behavior, but no, be who you are. Why are you seeking a diagnosis? Like, I don't know, maybe he was just trying to test my clinical skills. I don't know, right? So initially I told him, I said, I don't have a diagnosis for you. I don't see a diagnosis, But looking back, guys, there's clearly one, right? There's clearly some delusional thinking going on. I wouldn't say a diagnosis, but there's clearly some delusional thinking going on, and hence the title of this video, like fake ass fucking Black Panther. Because, boo-boo, you're not a Black Panther. It doesn't exist. And I let him know that, right? And going back to the conversation that we had, that revealed much about who he really is, and that really solidified and removed all doubt as far as what direction I should go next, right, with this relationship or situationship or whatever. Like, I did comment, and I let him know what I thought, and based on our experience at the zoo, because we went to the zoo the other day. I thought it was a cool experience. I love animals, so that's just me. I like to be out in nature and love animals and just appreciate. I'm a person that I can appreciate the here and now. Just be present in the moment. Just enjoy life. Hello, there's enough I feel like to stress about. I have enough things to stress about. School related, my career related. Listen, I like to when I have time on the weekend, and I'm going to the museum, I'm going to the zoo, I'm taking a nature walk. That's my time to just relax, enjoy just nature and life. So we go to the zoo, and I realized, it's not even I realized, it was just bombarding my conscious mind, and, I didn't want it to be in my subconscious mind, right? But it was just ever clear that it's just the way he was acting, he made it it was very bold and just so loud with his behavior, like, and not like literally loud, but just, so basically this is what happened. So, of course, whites make up the majority of the population in the U.S. And even more so when you go to places like a zoo, right? Like, he's only going to count a handful of Black people. And so, he's acknowledging, like, oh, there's not that many Black people here. I do the same thing to myself. Don't get me wrong. I survey my surroundings, and I go into a room and just see the racial composition, how many Black people, to white people or other races and stuff, just checking things out. I do that. But I also make sure that I am conscious of what I'm doing. Like, I'm not being so driven by my, I'm not so driven by my saturation in my identity, right? As a black person, that I just can't just see things from a different perspective and not always think about race all the time. So he's like surveying, you know, how many white people and black people, and to the point where it started to be a distraction and interfere with the experience of just appreciating nature. Like, the conversation, like, white people, it's just this. You know, you see this white person, and look how this white person is walking, and just, oh, it's just bad energy. And I'm like, yo, I didn't even pick up on all that, because I'm paying attention to animals. Not that I didn't see that there are white people there, but my mind is not focused on that. You know, they had like this thing where you can create your own s'mores. I'm like, you know, noticing things like that, and we got some s'mores, just the fire, you know, melting the marshmallows over the fire, like the open flame. Like, to me, that was a cool experience. Like, I'm just in the moment trying to experience that, but his mind is just so bombarded with all of this because his racial identity is so salient. I get it, right? And not only that, his racial identity is so salient, but the war, right? The race war that we're in, the context in which we're living in, is just so at his conscious mind, right? All the time, though. That's the thing. It's not that I'm not conscious. That's what conscious means, right? To be conscious is to be aware and to have it be at the forefront of your mind. But I'm like, I think to a certain extent, you should be able to regulate that, you know, because when you think about it, naturally, we are not supposed to be fighting a race war. Like, if they're in an ideal world, this is not how things should be. This is our response. Naturally, yes, it's our response to it, I think, could be appropriate to a certain extent, but this is not how life should be for black people. So do you understand that that's not healthy, right? It's not healthy to constantly be bombarded with these ideas, these thoughts of white people and being the victim and being attacked and having to look over your shoulder and feeling uncomfortable where you just can't even enjoy the present moment. You understand what I'm saying? We are at a zoo that we paid to go inside, but the main attraction is white people. Do you see the contradiction in that? And so in our conversation, you know, after we left the zoo and a couple days ago, like, I brought that up, you know, because I think he wanted to know. And I talked about that. I was just like, it's draining. I mean, if it's draining for me to be around, I can imagine how draining it is for him to live that reality, right? And not only that, like, the same thing happened when we were at the freaking Momo Museum. I'm like, can we appreciate the art? But the focus is on white people. And then he's going out of his way to agitate white people. He's like, oh, watch this, watch this. Watch when I stand. I'm going to go over here and stand next to these white people and watch how they move away. Anybody would move away. Yo, you fucking invaded somebody's personal space. I probably would think your ass a creep. You intentionally walking up in my freaking bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? But he was like, oh, that's childish. I was like, yes, that's very childish. Like, you have too much time on your hands, yo. Like, you're not doing anything. That's not doing anything. What do you think you're doing? Because, like, in his mind, he's proving a point. Like, watch this. Watch how I intimidate them. Because I'm going to go walk over here on purpose. Like, out of my way, right? You're not even walking that direction. You're just going to walk over there on purpose. You know. And I just felt like that was just inappropriate. Like, I'm like, listen, if you really want to do something, like, you're a Black Panther, so you have this energy within you to fight, okay? To do something against this power structure. There's better ways, more strategic ways, and more effective ways to do something. But that, like, what does that do for you? Okay, it makes you feel powerful, okay. But it just goes to speak to the little weakling in him, right? And then I remember he brought up how, you know, his... and I have to, like, I let people know that this is what it is, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna speak my mind. So he goes like, oh yeah, how I dress, like, cause you know, I guess how Black Panthers dress with the hat kind of slanted a certain way, and the colors and the logos of the cat and all of that. It's nice. I mean, honestly, that's what attracted me to him. I was like, all right, all right, I like this, right? Cause I always said, like, if I'm gonna procreate with somebody, it's gonna be somebody who is conscious and understands what's happening in this society and is doing something about it, right? But I'm like, he ain't really doing shit about it. Like, the way he moves, it's just like, listen, I ain't even touched the tip of the iceberg yet, you guys. I'm just kind of setting the foundation. So, he's like, oh, yeah, the way I dress, you know, I can tell, like, it bothers white people. And I had to let him know, they don't give a fuck about that. You think white people care about what you're wearing? The uniform or the costume that you're wearing as a Black Panther? They don't care. I had to address that part of the statement first, the way he said, right? Because he's like, oh, they care and it bothers them when I walk down the street and they see me dressed a certain way. They just know who I am. And the way he's saying it, you can just hear narcissism speaking the whole entire time, right? And it's just like on different, this came up like, you know, different days that we were talking, interacting. And I'm just like, they don't care. But then the fact that he mentioned it, and the fact that in his mind he thinks that they care, it's just like, okay, you're doing it for them. You're wearing this for them. It's really for them. You're not doing it for yourself or for the people. You are wearing this to get a reaction out of them. Because the whole entire, his focus is too much consumed with them, white people. And how they think of him and how they see him. That is very immature thinking, if you ask me. That's like underdeveloped thinking. It is. That's like, I even compared it to him. I brought all this up in the conversation. And when I say I got heated, oh, I struck some nerves. But this is true. People need to hear the truth. I said, you got people around you that placate you, that tell you what you want to hear. You know, they agree with what you say. They validate you. And I do. I can do both, though. I feel like it's not about validating only, but it's about you want a person that's going to tell you the truth. They're not being real with you. And so I tell them, it's likened, your thinking is likened to a little child who is always worried about mommy and what mommy going to think, what daddy going to think. Oh, if I wear this, am I going to get in trouble? Is mommy going to look at me a certain way? Daddy going to discipline me if I do this? If I walk this way? That's what it feels like being around him. Like, we going out and we just trying to enjoy art at the freaking MoMA. That's a very nice museum. And they have a slave exhibit inside the museum that I actually cried on, you know, because I connected with the images there. And I'm like, can we just enjoy? You know, there's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that, okay, you should not comment on anything related to white supremacy. That's not the point. I'm saying when it gets to the point where you're like overly consumed in it and your entire existence is just worried about what they think of you all the time, something is wrong. And to give you guys a little bit of background, like, as a lot of men, I'm noticing that a lot of black men in New York, and I guess it's a generational thing, especially like in the 80s with the crack epidemic, you know, they didn't grow up with a mother or father. They grew up in foster care. So they got some issues, man. Like, we need to just call things as they are, as they are, and that's the reason why I am making this video, because some things do need to be said. There's a lot of issues, and it's consistent with a lot of black conscious leaders out there. They want to lead a flock, and they may have some good characteristics, but they got some stuff in there too that need to be worked on. And they wonder why they have these negative interactions with people that they're supposed to be leading somewhere. You know, I can pinpoint. I'm thinking about this other black leader right now, you know, and I support them. That's the thing. It's not that, oh, I'm bashing them, or this video is just an attack. I'm not here to do that. Like, I'm not your enemy. But they feel triggered, and you should feel triggered. you should feel a certain kind of way about the things I'm saying, man. It's like, come on. So, within that same conversation over the phone the other day, right? I'm bringing this up and I'm like, I noticed this about you, how you interact with them. Your whole existence is just tied to white people. You're worried about what they think of you. You're dressing a certain way so that you can offend them. You can make a statement towards them. You know what I'm saying? Like, towards them. And I'm talking this out loud and it's dawning on me. Because I'm speaking to myself, like speaking to the choir. It's like, wow, it's starting to dawn. I'm starting to have a deeper spiritual awakening. I'm glad that we met, honestly, because I felt like the interaction I had with him took me to a deeper sense of self and awakening. Because I'm on my own journey too. Right? And our paths crossed for a reason. And I said, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem that you're tying who you are, your identity, to them. And that's not healthy. And so we began, like he was listening and he began to ask me, okay, so what's the solution? If I'm not, because I just gave it to him where I say, whatever movement you claim you on, you say you're a Black Panther, you're losing. I just had to put it out there. Because it dawned on me, like as I'm speaking to him, as I'm telling him and observing and kind of reflecting back on the zoo experience and the experience at the moment and just his mindset is just in reaction to white people. And you can't even exist. Can you enjoy your meal without thinking about them? Can't even enjoy the meal, the date that you're on. But to me, it's kind of sad though when you think about it. It's a sad reality, right? And as I'm thinking about this and I'm sharing this with him, like I said, it dawned on me. And then knowing that he's so-called on a movement as a Black Panther to effect change, it dawned on me. You're not doing shit. Your reality does not exist. You think that you're powerful. It's just a lie you tell yourself. And when I say you, it's not about just him. Like I said, this applies to a lot of Black leaders out there. Especially the ones that are at the forefront that we know. I ain't calling no names, but y'all know. Y'all can fill in the blank. That they think they're doing so much. But you're not doing shit. You're not. What are you doing? You feel like your movement is so powerful. You feel like you're doing so much to bring about change. And it's not doing anything. He asked me, okay, so what is going to do something? What is the solution? And I say, it kind of goes back to the conversation we had in the beginning about building family. First of all, knowing who you are, because it's hard to relate, because when you're talking about building a family, you're talking about relationships, right? So that's more advanced. To actually sustain a relationship with somebody and to build, that's a little bit more advanced. You got to come to an understanding of self. And I feel like we talk about knowledge of self, right? And he seems like, because I did visit his place, and it was all right. He got all these books. Like, it's no surprise, right? If he's so-called Black Panther, that everything you see is kind of going to reflect that, like in his place, and the pictures on the wall, a whole gang of books, and it's very neat and organized. And okay, I like that, right? The visual. But as far as when we're talking about, okay, so what can be done, and like I said, it's just knowledge of self. And I think that's interesting how they claim to have so much knowledge of self. And it's one thing to say, it's another thing to do. A lot of Black leaders and just Black people in general really don't. We speak this rhetoric. And of course, he's in alignment with the movement of praying to the ancestors, right? And I'm not opposed to that. So I make this clear. I love Africa. I think it's important that we reconnect to our roots. And that's what I'm doing, right? And that reminds me, there's so much to be said, you guys. There's so much to be said in this video, because I had to get this off. So in me sharing that, right, because this is when we were like first talking, I think this was on Christmas Day, and I think he saw some of my art like in my background when we was on video, and I'm like, yeah, I'm reconnecting back to my roots, as there's a lot of African Americans, right, and doing the DNA test, we talked about all of that, right, and then he goes, and this is, I feel like I got a lot, women, we got a lot of patience, we deal with a lot of shit from these men. So he goes, oh, I can help you with that, right? So I'm thinking he's like really talking about like, okay, put me up on some game, like, all right, sharing information maybe that I didn't know. It's a lot of information. We're in the information age, so it's a plethora of information out there already, right? So that we can learn and research and reconnect with our roots. I'm all for that. My dissertation is on that. It's on Black identity, acculturation, and implicit racial bias, right? So I'm in alignment with what he believes, but at the same time, I feel like I feel that who I am and the spirit that's in me is a little bit different than the spirit that's in him. And I feel like there's many levels to spiritual development and spiritual awakening. And he's telling me, oh, he can help me with that. So I'm open. I'm all ears. I'm like, oh, okay, you're going to help me. He was like, oh, well, it depends, though, because you gotta be vetted. So when he started talking like that, it's just like, and this is in the beginning. This is before we had, I think, even gone on a date. He's like talking about being vetted, and I'm just like, vetted? Like the way he's speaking of it as if like it's a game. Like I gotta go through some initiation, and I'm just like, it sounds like a scam. Because listen, as a black person, if you're watching this, and you want to get more in tune with your roots, you ain't gotta go through it ain't no special person you gotta go through. But that's how he framed it, like, oh, he has the key. And he's such this important person that he has the key for black people to get in touch. I'm like, I'm already doing that. I don't need to go through you, and I told him this. Like, I'm just a very frank person. I'm like, I don't have to go through you to get in touch with my freaking African roots. I said, I already have African friends. He was like, oh, but they just regular people. First of all, you don't even know my freaking African friends, right? But he's like, he jumped to conclusions. It's like, oh, well, I know the prince of this country, and I know the big, important people in this country, and it's just, anybody can do that, though. But he make it seem like, oh, they like, you have to be a special person to have certain access. That, to me, started to get to me, because I'm just like, stop with the bigotry, like, stop with the narcissism, like, chill the fuck out. But granted, this is like early on, right? So I'm kind of keeping a memory bank of all this shit. On top of the whole not want to pay for the first date and want to test to see, if I'm real by not choosing to pay for the first date, and then saying that, oh, he has like the key for me to get in touch with my African identity. Like, I don't have to go through you. And he was like, oh, but you won't get it unless you go through me. Like, it's like, to me, I think it's like manipulation. It's a mind fuck. And I think that that's what's happening in certain groups, like certain conscious groups where you have these cults. I'm not going to say no names, but these black men, they portray themselves to be a certain way as a leader, and I'm dominant, and they have these women, that join them, and they think that they're just like, they're the way, right? And they paint themselves to be, oh, I'm Christ, or I'm, the ultimate person of consciousness, and in order to really reach the level of consciousness, you got to go through me. Now, granted, I don't practice Christianity anymore, but it really sounds much like that scripture in the Bible, right? Where I think Jesus was being tested. Who was being tested in that verse? And the devil was like, oh, I can give you the world, I can give you all this stuff if you just listen to me, kind of shit, right? It's just like, what? And I think it's funny to me. That's funny. Because when you know who you are, like, I know who I am. But he's trying to tell me like who I am, and that I need to go through him to get more in touch with my roots and spirituality. And that to me was very unnerving, right? And so fast forward back to, the conversation we had a couple days ago, and we're talking about, because I was telling him like, yo, like we're talking about solutions, and he's saying, oh, like he has the answers, right? But I'm like, you're not powerful. Like, I know a powerful person. You don't have power. I'm not talking about economic power or money per se. Like, he just doesn't have power. He second guesses himself. Like, he's very insecure. I know an insecure man when I see one, yo. Like, I'm at the museum and a white man complimented me on my coat. My mudcloth Molly coat, my coat or whatever. And like, he goes, oh, if he really thought that your coat was beautiful, he would have asked you who made it. What? A person can give a compliment while asking where a person got something from. I said, I give compliments. I don't have to ask or know where something is from. Sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes you just want to compliment somebody. And I've gotten many compliments on that same coat. But I think it's just interesting to see his reaction to people giving me compliments, especially men. Like, feeling sized up. I think it's like, yo, if you know who you are and you really secure, he's not. I see right through it. So as a woman seeing that weakness in him, the insecurity, it's a turnoff. And of course I'm going to challenge it. And it's funny how when we were at the so-called dinner date, but I don't want to say it's a date, it was just whatever, eating. Like, he brings up how a lot of women, like, in his past would, like, always challenge his masculinity. It's just, like, I thought that was interesting, but as you begin to listen to people more, you learn why, right? So I'm like, okay, why they sizing you up like that? What reason? Like, if you're a man, you're just a man. They ain't got no... A woman is not going to size up a real freaking alpha male. Like, for what? She sees he's clearly alpha. No need to test unless you just want to feel his power. That's a different thing. So if a woman does that, she pushes up against you like that, figuratively speaking, it's because she's just trying to feel that shit. That's all. She want to rub up against it. But outside of that, no. A woman gonna recognize that alpha. You ain't got it. It ain't in you, man. You second guessing. And then, you guys know I vlog. I make videos for Facebook and YouTube. And I get notifications like left and right. Now, recently, that's crazy that my shit is kind of blowing up on YouTube. So I get comments, and somebody commented on my video, and it was just basically reading off, like, they left a very long, thorough comment, but it was just them giving me praise, the entire comment, and it had to be a good 500-word comment. And we were on the train, and I brought it up, and he was like, what's that? And I read it. I said, you want me to read it? I'll read it. I read it. And his response is, oh, that's just too much flattery. Yo, why you hating? Why? Like, I'm going to get a lot of that, but I feel like he doesn't get enough of it. So, of course, he feels attention starved, like, or it's a competition between me and him. And you people guys wonder why I made videos about wanting an alpha male, right? Or wanting a confident man. Yo, you don't have it. You don't have what it takes, because I'm an alpha female. People show me support. People compliment me. That's just what it's going to be. And if you feel some kind of way about it, that like ruffles your feathers and makes you feel more insecure about yourself when I get compliments out in public. Because I get compliments alone by myself. So even more so, I'm pretty sure if I'm with a man, that's happened. That's happened with him. I've gotten compliments. And then the other guy I went on a date with. Now, that was a separate date before I met him, though. Where I got showered with compliments just from random white people. And people in general, people just compliment. I say white because that's just a neighborhood. I live in a white neighborhood. But it is what it is. And it's just like, why feel a certain kind of way about it? But seeing a person's reaction, that reveals a lot about that person, right? So in the conversation like we had the other day, it was just like, I'm letting him know, I think the solution is just knowing who you are. That's a big part. Knowing, like, yo, walk in your shit. If you, like, for me, I truly believe that God lives in us. God, we are God, right? God, that's a different level of spirituality than saying, okay, you're praying to the ancestors or you're praying to a God that's external versus internal. That's a different conversation. So his perspective is, he prays to the ancestors and an external God, which my belief is that we as a totality, as a collective, we represent God. We are God. And we have the ability to walk in that power. To know who you are. That makes a difference, yo. And so we're talking about this in terms of identity of who we are and spirituality and praying to the God within or his God without or many gods without different ancestral spirits. And we're talking about this in the context of how can we fix the problems in the Black community? Okay, where do we go? We know the problems. We've talked about it for hours now. So let's just talk about solutions. And we're talking about that. And I'm just letting him know, okay, you lack power. It's difficult for us to even talk about solutions when I clearly see you're not powerful. You're just not. Your identity is tied to much of the white power structure. You're a Black Panther. Now, I'm not here to attack Black Panthers, so don't take this video out of context. I do recognize historically Black Panthers, they did something. They were real Black Panthers. They fought. They were willing to risk their lives to do so. When they carried their guns, they used those guns. What the fuck are you doing? He's scared to go to certain neighborhoods. He's like, oh, I don't go to Brownsville. I don't go to East Flatbush. East New York. Why? Why not? Oh, I just don't. It's just the way he moves, yo. He moves so scared. I can't be tougher than you. I'm a woman. Also, it came up where he's going to paint a scenario and say, oh, well, if a man, let's say a man is, saying something to you, right, or being disrespectful to you, he was like, I won't say nothing to the man. I'm just going to sit back, and see how you will respond to see if you can de-escalate the situation. Of course I can. This is what I do. I work with people, yo. The so-called crazy of the craziest people. I worked in prison. And beyond that, like, from where I grew up, it's not hard. You get what I'm saying? But anyway, so it's just his frame of mind because he's like, oh, I'm going to see how you're going to respond, see how you handle it. And I wouldn't do nothing. He said he wouldn't do nothing. But then it's funny how he kind of turns it and says, he also is trying to test me to see if I'm willing to come to his defense. So if he was in a group or out in public and, some people approached him, or threatened him or whatever, will I have his back? Am I the kind of woman to have his back? And I said no. I said, why should I jump to your defense when you just said, like, what the fuck? All this testing and shit like that, playing games. Nobody got time to fucking play games. I'm 37 years old. I have no time to play games, right? But all this testing and all of that, right? I say, honestly, I don't know what I'll do. I can't tell you what I'll do in a situation because I don't know. It depends on a lot of factors in that situation. So I can't tell you what I would do. But I do find it interesting how you make it clear that you would sit back and not do anything if a guy tested me. But in that same vein, I say, honestly, it's funny that we're having this conversation. I don't think like that. Like, that's the way he thinks. He's, like, always on guard. He's very tensed up. And it speaks to, like, damn, the black man is going through a lot. To live that reality where you're so afraid. You can't even exist. Your existence is just tied to white people and racial oppression and getting killed. And, oh, my gosh, how burdensome can that be, right? And he's like, well, I expect you, as a black woman, especially you're training to become a psychologist, to be more empathic. I say, no, I do. I understand. I get it. Listen. We're women, black women, we deal with the same struggle. We are a reflection of each other. You think that I'm not dealing with it? You think that I haven't encountered racism? You think that my life just is fucking easy going? No, we just carry it differently. I have a different perspective than you. You're asking me about solutions on how to go about it. I'm telling you, this is how I live my life, right? So I feel like, yo, your perspective is weak. You're weak. You live in fear. You're afraid to go to certain neighborhoods in New York City because you're looking over your shoulder, and it makes sense. Maybe you traumatized because you got attacked before. You got stabbed, you got jumped. So it makes sense to be on guard, but at the same time, it's not like I haven't been in fights. It's not like I haven't been attacked. Like he's saying things like as if I haven't, I don't have a past, right? I may just carry myself differently. So you look at me, some people may not even have no idea. I'm like, listen, I wrote a book, American Dreamer, my autobiography. I have not released it yet. But when I do, it's going to be shocking because people will be like, damn, you went through that? Because I don't carry myself that way. And I feel like it's more important to heal. So if I've been through whatever trauma I've been through in my past, to heal from it. To not look at the world as such a dangerous place where I can't even go outside. And he had told me that before he met me, he didn't even leave his house like that. He didn't even go out like for recreation or fun things, to do. Like we were going to the museum and to the zoo. Like he just work and home. And then his involvement in the community because, he works with people in the community. And does rallies and protests and stuff like that. But outside of that, he's just like, he doesn't really get a chance to enjoy himself. And he just has this frame of reference that doesn't sit well with my spirit. I can't live life like that. I choose not to live life like that. And I let him know that he doesn't have power. I say, you're weak. You think you have power. You walk around with this external shell and you're a Black Panther in your heart and you want to be all militant and soldier. And like when we're at the zoo, I noticed he's walking with his hands behind his back like this. And I guess that's their stance, right? To distinguish themselves from the general person or a Black person. He explained it to me, right? But I'm like, it just reminded me of how prisoners walk into prison, because I'm like, that's how they made the prisoners walk into prison. They had to walk with their hands behind their back, but in his perspective, he's just like, no, I'm communicating a message. I'm distinguishing myself, right? And he has like this whole thing. And I told him, I said, what? It's fake. It's a costume. You have developed this fake ass reality that doesn't exist. You're not powerful. It's never going to bring about change. That's not how. You're asking me how. So I'm only saying this in response to his question because he said, okay, so what's the solution, right? How do we fix this? I'm telling him, not that. Clearly not that. Because this is a deep conversation here. And I think I've said the answer in so many words, but I feel like Black Power, Black Lives Matter, Black Panther, whatever fucking Black movement, it does, in a sense, make Black people feel empowered, like we're doing something. You're marching out in the street. You're having protests. Okay. And I told him, because he thinks that, the way I'm dressed, like it communicates a certain message, and white people, they know who I am, so they know not to fuck with me kind of. I'm just like, nigga, they'll kill your ass, okay? Like point blank period, excuse my language, but this is the truth. And there's a nigga inside of all of us. Sometimes we become ignorant to the fact of the truth of the matter. But I said to him, no, that's what you're just telling yourself. You empower yourself in that way, but is it really true empowerment? You're not powerful. You're just not. And if 1,000 of you, dressed like you, were to lead a protest tomorrow, you really think they give two shits about that? They do not. They don't care. But it was aggravating me because it's just like the fact we're even thinking about what the fuck white people think. That goes to show you do not have power. Your whole existence is in response to them. You can't even exist without them. But you're powerful though. Because if it wasn't racial oppression, you wouldn't be a Black Panther. So your identity is tied to them. I'm letting him know to beat that, develop a real identity, independent of that. Now, you can agree to disagree. But I know what's true for me. And he's saying, oh, so you mean that we shouldn't fight? What are you fighting? And how has that worked for you? What are you fighting? I'm saying know who you are. Because black people, we don't know. When we talk about this stuff, we say we have an awareness. And we're deeply rooted in spirituality. We think we know. But we don't. That's just like at a point in time everybody was a Christian. And then they woke up from that and realized, well damn, that ain't it. Being a Christian, that ain't it. But we look how such confident we were in being Christians. Same thing. Alright, we can get power from praying to the ancestors. That was the next thing. Let's pray to the ancestors. Nothing wrong with that. But I feel like it goes deeper than praying to the ancestors, though. Because I'm telling him, listen, we are our ancestors. It's the same spirit in them. It's the same spirit in you. That spirit is in you. But it's like, y'all probably watching this, maybe just to be nosy, for entertainment, whatever, right? Because I'm speaking with emotion. I'm speaking with passion. Because this is how I feel. I'm expressing myself. I'm not trying to be fake. I'm just being, right? And you guys may disagree. And just may not really quite grasp it. And I think that's what was happening in our conversation. It's just, what I'm saying is not landing. It's just not. It's not land. It didn't land. And he took offense to it. He took great offense to what I was saying. Like I was attacking him. I'm like, you missing it, yo. We gotta wake up. We gotta come to a... Yo, you know how I know? Because he's like, oh, well, how you know that? Who told you that? What book you got it from? They always want to know, oh, cite the source. No. When you come to a sense of who you are, you don't need no source. You are the source. And your behavior is going to reflect that. How you relate to white people, how you walk is going to be different. His walk ain't even right. Like, this is a fake walk. That's what I say. You fake. It's fake. Oh, you want to look like a soldier, and you've been conditioned to be this way. Because I guess he a part of some clan or whatever. The fuck, Black Panther. I didn't meet his people. And I'm about to get to that point in a minute, too. But, you know, they indoctrinated him into this whole way of thinking and being, right, and acting. But that's all it is. It's an act. You're not doing shit. You can have your private meetings and say, oh, we're going to schedule a rally for it. That don't mean shit. Voting means nothing. Listen, black people are already defeated. The system has already been built. Many years over, okay? There's nothing to fight. There's no enemy to fight. It's fake. Your reality as a Black Panther is fake. It's not going to do anything. Only thing you can do at this point is really come to a true awakening. Because black people haven't. And it's like, it's almost sad to see that. It's so simple to change, to wake up. And I even gave an example. I say, have you seen that meme where it depicts the solution in a picture? It's a meme that says all we got to do is stand up, and it shows black people bent over and white people sitting around on the table playing chess on their back. And all you got to do is just stand up, right? But part of that standing up is our spirit standing up. Our spirit coming to an awakening. Talking about fighting, talking about changing laws and voting, that don't change. That's nothing. We are defeated. You're defeated because you don't get it. And I like the way Dr. Umar said. I think in his interview with Nick Cannon, that he doesn't blame black women who may resent black men or don't respect black men, right? You know? Because the fuck are you doing? You recognize it's a war, but your weak ass can't win this shit. You weak. You're defeated. Wearing the costume, marching, begging for rights, begging that laws are changed. You're still playing this. You're still being a part of the system. You're still a pawn in the system. That's not beating shit. You don't know how to take dominion over yourself and what's entitled to you. Black people say, "Oh, the land is ours." How is it yours if you're not willing to fight for it? You're not a god. You don't have a god spirit. You have a subservient spirit in you. That's all you know. And wearing the Black Panther uniform or costume, it's a costume in my eyes. No disrespect to the true Black Panthers, but you're a fake one. You're wearing a costume. It's a Halloween costume. But it works for you in your current reality because it makes you feel like you have a sense of purpose. But it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. It does not. You're not effecting change. Now, granted, okay, he does like things here and there, right? So he works directly with people, you know, the homeless, and may feed them and talk to them. That's doing something. That's admirable. But this whole movement, right? And so we're talking, and I'm letting him know, you know, you're weak, and you're not doing anything. You're not powerful. That's not your approach is just not effective. Clearly. Until you know who you are, until you rise up, the God in you, but he don't see that he has God in him. So how can you take dominion over this earth, as was commanded by God for people to do, if you don't even see that you are God, or have a spirit of God in you? Because gods walk a certain way. Gods interact a certain way. Gods are not walking around here wondering what do they think about me? Oh, look at them. They're looking at us. I don't give a fuck. I'm out there living my life. And I told him, listen, I can say that I understand where you're coming from because I was that person too. But I evolved from that. I used to be that person constantly bringing that shit up in conversation when I'm with other people. And it's just like, why can't you just live? Why can't you just be? Walk in your power. Walk in your authority. You're not walking in authority. You're walking in fear. You're walking in inferiority. What I see is the effects of racial oppression playing out right now in you as a black man, relating to me as a black woman. That's what I see. And because I spoke with such truth, listen, he got triggered. He got upset. And then he got like, I laughed. He's like, oh, you laughing? Listen, it's funny to me. Until you face the truth, until you swallow your pride and realize that you're defeated. You're never going to beat white supremacy. This is nothing to beat. And then he goes, well, if you come around my people, you can't be talking like that because like I'm like in a threat, like you want to threaten me, right? I say, you can't do shit to me. Your people can't do shit to me. But I laugh because we were on video, so I'm seeing his facial expressions, and I'm seeing just a little boy. I mean, legally he's of age, you know. He's in his 30s, but he's just a little boy inside. He's just, and a lot of men are like that, a lot of black leaders, so to speak. And it's to me, it's funny. Because it wouldn't be funny if they acknowledged, like, okay, you know what? You're right, but he's fighting the truth. He's fighting it, right? He's still trying to hold on to this hard external shell. And I'm just like, just admit it. You're defeated. You've lost. Not against me. You're lost against the system. And there's nothing you can do about it. But just be who you are. That's how you beat. That's how you beat it. Other than that, what are you fighting? And threatening me to say, oh, if I come around your people talking like this, like trying to insinuate something gonna happen. Listen, you can't do shit to me. They can't do shit to me. A person that knows who they are can speak with authority, and he looking at me like, why is she speaking like this? Yo, I know when I have a person captivated. I know when I have a person under my spell. He clearly was under that spell, right? Spell in a good way, not a bad way, right? Because he knows that my words, I'm speaking power, yo. But I can tell, like, my energy knows when a person feels insecure around me. I know when I have more power than another person. Your spirit knows that, right? Your spirit knows that. White people know they have more power than black people because look at your mind. Look at the mind. Post-traumatic slave syndrome mind. Your mind is, you're speaking with such inferiority. You don't know who you are. That's why they can dominate you. And I'm relating to him, it's like you don't know who you are. That's why I dominated the conversation. He felt bad because he felt like I dominated the conversation. I dominated the conversation because what do you have to share? Your words are meaningless at this point. But on that note, you guys, I'm going to end this video. I know I'm pretty sure I pissed a lot of people off. It's okay. I still love everyone. But sometimes things need to be said. So take your aggression out on the real enemy, not on me. I just find it funny though. It's funny because the same thing that they try to portray, like you want to fight the system of white supremacy, but you end up fighting the black woman. You can't win fighting me, but you might have a chance at fighting the white man. You might. Maybe you don't. That's why you're so mad and you feel the only thing you can defeat is me. You can't defeat me though. I'm undefeated. Rest assured that one. I'll catch you guys later. Drop your comments below and share this video.